great to have people back here in this space. This space has been quite lonely. I don't think there's been an audience in here since before COVID. So it's great to have you all here. What you're going to see tonight is a creative collaboration. And this is a class that we offer through the Department of Theater Arts and Dance here at the university, in which we transform research into performance. And tonight's topic is rare diseases. And we are working and just have been absolutely delighted to work in connection with the Center of Orphan Drug Research here at the University of Minnesota. So this play contains two strands of DNA. The first strand is Philoctetes, the tragedy written by Sophocles. And the second is the stories that were shared with us over the past 5 weeks by people with rare diseases, by families who've been affected by rare disease, and their generosity has made this performance tonight possible. How many of you out here tonight have a connection with someone with a rare disease? How many of you are curious to know more? Look around. There are stories everywhere.
The ancient Greeks believed that a story worked like a loom. Vertically ran the sequence, horizontally the metaphor. And where the two came together, there are invisible threads wove cloaks of immortality. There are many ways to tell the stories of rare disease. For instance, with marble. Now when I say marble, what are some images that come to mind? You got one? Just shout out.
Statue.
Statues. That's a great answer. And you know, that's actually what I think. And I'd like to tell a little story about a certain marble statue. There once was a massive block of marble that over the course of 50 years, 2 separate sculptors tried to make something out of. But both had given up because they deemed it too brittle to work with. When another sculptor, Michelangelo, saw this, he decided he would use it to create a statue he had recently been contracted to create. The other sculptors told him, don't use it. That's poor quality marble. And despite his warning, Michelangelo used a block, and he found it to be true. The block was considerably more brittle than typical marble, and it was unlike anything he had ever worked with before. But this didn't stop him. And over the course of 2 years, he had, from marble discarded by Donatello himself, created the statue of David. But that isn't my favorite story about the statue of David. My favorite happens during World War II, when an Italian museum, which was housing David and many other Renaissance sculptures, was hit with a bomb. And this shook the building violently and threw many statues to the ground, shattering them into hundreds of pieces. But one statue among them remained upright and survived. At first, people thought it was a miracle that David had survived, but it was later determined that because David was made from unusually porous marble, he was flexible, where the other statues were rigid. And if he hadn't been made from this unusual, this rare marble, he would not have survived the bomb. And now, our play.
Neoptolemus. And Odysseus. We are the chorus. Sorry.
We give our lives value through our struggles.
And our struggles voice through our stories.
Every memory is either an alibi or evidence.
Proof of our righteous lives.
All this complaining and wishing and wailing and gnashing of teeth makes me sick. But I'm part of it.
At least the part between you and the it of it.
We are the chorus. not famous.
I alone, unknown.
Shelved for decades.
Centuries like this story.
Like a
Rare disease. But together there are 7,000 of us. 1 in 10 of everyone you know is one of us. Yes. So though I am not, we are known. Get to the story. The story. We give our lives value. You said that.
Oh, the story! Okay, I get it.
A place and time told in another place and time.
Oh, where perspective and perception meet.
And where we
you and I.
find the it of it.
So,
we begin. First we pray. We sing.
To pray is to sing.
Spirit is found in breath. We inhale, we exhale.
we inspire, we expire.
In every breath there is a laugh or a cry, a story or a song.
In every conversation, an exchange of spirit.
Every word a prayer.
We sing to...
Oh, the board of directors.
No.
We sing. 1, 2, 3, 4.
We sing the story of Philoctetes. The many Philoctetes.
The keepers of disease that are not so rare. Abandoned on islands, untreatable wounds too great to bear.
Any reasons for this are what we make between the journey we plan and the one we take. When we gathered tonight in this holy ring, it is of Philoctetes we sing. Nothing there. Except the beat of the waves and the beat of my raw wound. Someday, I hope they waken up the way that I did on that day of abandonment. The bay, all empty. The ships, all disappeared. Total isolation. This island is a nowhere. This is my story.
Odysseus! Is this the island as you remember it?
Yes. This is the place. This strand. This is Lemnos, all right. Not a creature. Yes, I'm the one that left Philoctetes here. Marooned him, but only because I had been ordered to. I did it all the same, Neoptolemus. I'm the one that dumped him. Him and his cankered foot, or what had been a foot before it rotted and ate itself up with ulcers. Oh, God, it was just awful. I mean, we couldn't even get peace at the altar without him breaking out into these howling fits and slavering and cursing, and everybody was just on edge. I mean, he couldn't be stopped. Everybody's nerves were getting wrong. But, you know, I can see the good in people. And I can see a little bit of good in Philoctetes. And you know what, Neoptolemus? I can see a lot of good in you. Right? Yeah. All right, now go investigate that cave. Oh, wait. Shh. Be very quiet. He might be sleeping in there.
There's an old pile of leaves somebody slept on.
Is that it? Other signs of life?
Wait! There's a mug or something hacked out of a log. And bits of kindling.
All his earthly goods.
Oh! Look at this! Oh, that's rotten. Oh, bandage rags. Nothing but old dried pus and dirty clouds.
That's it. That's him. I knew he had to be around here somewhere. He has to be around. With a foot like his, he won't be out traveling far. He's probably out scavenging, likely, poking for things to eat, or maybe gathering herbs to try to get some relief.
This is useless. We should be back with our troops, fighting for Troy. Why do we search for this Philoctetes?
Philoctetes.
Philoctetes.
No, Philoctetes.
Philoctetes?
No, listen. It's Philoctetes.
Philoctetes.
No, it's a constant vowel at the end of his name. You're doing an to an E.
Okay, never mind. Why is he so important?
Not him, but what he carries with him. The bow of Heracles.
I've heard of this bow. It was given to Phil. It was given to him by Heracles himself.
Yes. And recently, it's been foretold that without this bow with us at Troy, the war will never be won.
Oh.
Neoptolemus, what you're gonna have to do is come up with a story. Say you hate me for some wrong I committed, then you can gain his confidence, and then commandeer the bow from him.
Can't stomach the thought of having to deceive him like that. Goes against everything I was ever brought up to believe. That's really low behavior.
I mean, I would do it, but if he recognized me and had his bow with him, then I'd be dead. And you'd be dead for being with me.
Okay, what about this? Why don't we just go at it man to man? If he's so badly lame, he'd never be a match for the two of us.
Fighting is never going to work, and arguing only grows more resolve, believe me. But people will eat right out of your hand if you just talk to them right. Do it my way just this once. All right, you'll be ashamed, but that won't last forever. And then you'll have the rest of your life to be good and true, incorruptible.
You don't think lying undermines your life?
No, not if it will save lives.
Well then, so be it. The weapon is our target.
All right. Now, what you have to do is wait here for Philoctetes, and I'm gonna leave in case he sees me.
What? I'm still torn. Whatever choice I make, it's gonna be betrayal. To myself, or to my people.
Neoptolemus, we see things as they are, not as we wish them to be. Troy is a disease. War is the cure for wrong suffered, but brings more suffering.
If you can end this with a word, a weapon, a lie!
A lesser sin to eat, a greater sin.
Then it's your duty, your obligation, your honor.
You can always say you were under orders.
That's what Odysseus does.
Here comes Philoctetes.
Hi, I'm Josh. I'm not Philoctetes. You good back there? Yeah. You don't want to come out?
Good, Genesis?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am a member of this beautiful ensemble, and for the past 3 years, a lot of the people behind me have known me as the guy who moved from Florida to Minnesota. Yeah, I know. But until about 5 weeks ago, they now know me as the guy from Florida who also has a rare disease. Now, they had no idea that this dude from Florida had a life-threatening illness, and doctors told him that there was no way that he would be able to go to college. And they're just taking theater classes with him. You know, Shayla said something. Where's Shayla? There she is. She's great. Shayla said something a few weeks ago where when you walk down the street, you can see many people. And you have no idea what they're going through. They could be having the greatest day of their lives, celebrating. Or they could be feeling tremendous pain. And you walking by them would have no idea unless you asked them and talked to them. And they told you truly how they were feeling. Which brings me to tonight. All of the stories and all of the themes you're going to hear tonight, anyone could be going through it. Anyone could be going through this pain. It could be you. It could be the person sitting next to you. And you would have no idea unless you asked. Now, I gotta go make a light cue. But here comes Philoctetes!
Tears burn like 1,000 knives digging into raw red flesh. Bees swarm in the chest, their stingers scraping the outer layer of the heart. Rocks in my lungs, I breathe like a storm. The morning sunlight stings my eyes and etches cruel mockeries. The night's longer, my dreams darker, and less and less.
Think of what that man came through.
What did he ever do to be cursed with his abscess?
Crippled and deserted, doomed in a wilderness. When he could bear no more, the pain kept on.
His sore made him squeal and scream for somebody to come, but nobody ever came.
He crept around like an infant
He wept, and when he hunted for herbs,
to soothe the foot.
the foot wept as he dragged it.
His trail was blood and matter.
But when an infant creeps and hurts himself and weeps, the helping hand is there.
For
Philoctetes,
never.
his echo was his neighbor.
The purpose of a sculptor is to create constant invitations for new perspectives. Michelangelo was inspired by another artist who lived 2 centuries earlier in Florence, Italy, Dante Alighieri, who wrote the Divine Comedy. In the section titled Inferno, Dante refers to the underworld as dis, which in Latin means place of shadow and reflection. Dante knew that you couldn't cure a loss, whether it be a broken heart, limb, promise, or person. The heart especially is an instrument that, once broken, never plays the same. Although it can't be cured, it can be healed. And Dante knew this. Dante knew that in times of great loss, this was a necessary step to reach paradise. It's also the prefix for words like disease and disability, which doesn't mean unable. It means able through another way. Able through the ways of shadows and reflections, with a foot in both worlds. But for doctors and caregivers, living in the shadow of rare disease, their feet constantly in motion, they rarely have time to stop and reflect.
I need to get the people to do!
My charge! You want the elevator? Please, thank you. Where are my shirts?
In medical school, they say when you hear hooves, think of horses, not zebras. That is, when a patient is sick, think of a common ailment, not a rare disease. But what if the zebras taken together were 10% of the herd? How can we teach the doctors to see everyone? Where are you at, Mark? Do you know?
Damn, I need to roll down.
I got a large branch line coming through!
Every part of my condition training tells me one thing, and the patient tells me another. And if they're right, everything is going to be against them, including me, I guess. But it's almost always a horse. And it's always easier to sleep at night when the zebra lookalike turns out to be just a horse. For their sake, it has to be a horse. But if they're right, a zebra is a lot more dangerous and far more important for me to catch. And that's supposed to be my job, isn't it? Where are my ladders? I need more time.
Oh, I got a GSW!
I know that this is typically just a numbers game, especially for pharmaceuticals. Well, not many people have it, so why should we put resources towards fixing it? But if this were happening to your child, how would you feel?
She says she feels like Mother Earth caring for new babies while guiding her son through the doorway of death. They said it takes approximately 8 years just to get a diagnosis.
I don't know how you do it, is the worst kind of compliment. It places an expectation that they have to fulfill.
She said, it's embarrassing how sad I am. I don't let it out anywhere.
She said suffering sows the seeds of empathy, that she looks to the sky and sees her brothers in Orion's belt.
She says she has knives in her skin, clawing her flesh from the inside out. And somehow you're quiet. And somehow you can keep your eyes from popping out of their turtle shell skulls. I bet your God is smoking a fat Monte Cristo and gazing around with casual disinterest. This look that seems to be your consistent being. This look that makes me want to crawl out of my skin. You smell like cigarette smoke. So you're one step down from God.
What are the likes of us to do, Neoptolemus? We're here, and we're supposed to help you.
But we're in a maze.
We're strangers, and this place is strange. We're on shifting sand.
It is all sea change. Clear 1 minute, next minute haze.
But you are blessed with special insight. So tell us. Give us our instructions.
It's a pity of him, too. Afflicted like that, him and that terrible foot.
And not a one to talk to. Like the last man left alive.
How does the being survive?
Human beings suffer.
But not to this extent.
You would wonder if it's meant.
Or him more than another.
What is the sense of it?
Listen to that.
He's in awful pain.
That squeal.
Must be every time he drags his foot.
Pain
is a form of exile.
Pain is an island. Pain makes orphans of us all.
What's this?
who you are and where you've come from. Your clothes look Greek, and that warms my heart. But I need to hear your voices. I know, I look like a wild animal, but don't let that scare you. Don't treat me like an untouchable. What I am is what I was made into. Do the friendly human thing and speak! Let me tell you then, the way they abandoned me.
They said the pain is not describable by normal standards.
She said, you would prefer death over pain.
He said the pain is both intermittent and ever-present.
I said it will always hurt, unless it really hurts.
She said they call them butterfly children because their skin is so sensitive.
Like third-degree burns everywhere.
Every day has been a weeping wound for 10 years now, and you haven't even heard my name, or heard about the way that I'm afflicted.
He said you are literally told it's all in your head.
They said I'm an experiment.
She said, I only have so many energy spoons a day. Healthy people get unlimited spoons.
They said we're running out of time.
She said 30% of children die before age 5.
She said, give me my kid back. Let me be alone. You can take your hero back.
They said you are an orphan.
He said a drug sits on the sidelines waiting to save lives.
He said it's not just a skin disease,
It's a systems disease.
God's curse it! But it's me the gods have cursed. They've let my name and story be wiped out. The true offenders have got away with it.
She said pharmaceuticals are built on a profit model.
She said, do only the rich get cured.
They said we're running out of time.
She said, privilege isn't always what you have, it's that you have.
Do you not know me?
Because many who carry sickle cells are descended from malarial regions of Africa and South America.
It's at the intersection of disease and social disorder.
They said it's an invisible disease. The complications are internal.
She said they said you're only here because you want to get by.
She said they asked, did you give it to him or the father?
She said, I just get exhausted re-explaining myself to the supposed experts.
They said, how am I the expert in the room?
They said we have to be the teacher.
Let me tell you the way they abandoned me.
She said our rage and frustration can limit compassion.
They said,
We are not less than human!
Don't look at me as if I'm an untouchable. This island is a nowhere. They said, we can serve. We don't just need help. Help.
Breathe in, out. In. Pain in your stomach. Up to your chest. Travels to your head. Your mind into space. Close your eyes. Hold your hands. The large room getting smaller and smaller. You feel isolation. You hear nothing but your beating heart screaming at you. You open your eyes. You feel an embrace. You squeeze back. Your body changes its tone. You allow yourself to be held. You just help yourself.
I am Neoptolemus, son of Achilles.
Son, the gods have blessed you. Your father is a legend.
Was.
Was? He's dead? By whose hand?
Apollo. His wing-shaped lyre played my father's swan song.
It is a fitting and honorable end.
Yes. And I arrived just in time to be present at his pyre, only to find his armor hanging on Odysseus.
That's a lie!
That's blasphemy! It's yours by rights. We carry what is passed on by our parents.
And I did claim them, but Odysseus turned everyone's heads with his lies and accusations.
Whoa, another whopper. But that never...
Quiet!
Just when I thought a snake couldn't get any low. You do understand. What brings you to Lemnos?
I am returning home.
Take me with you.
When the wind is right.
All wind is right. Let's go.
What is it? It's pain! It is epic! What's wrong?
Nothing's wrong. Here, the bow. Take it.
Me? No, I can't.
Take it. Watch over me. Thank you. To have you here again, I can begin living. You are my family now, and I yours. No longer orphans.
Family? What does that mean? Family. You are my family. You are my family.
You are my family.
We called her a puzzle child.
The world for her was too crowded, too loud, too confusing. A puzzle she could never solve.
The screams. The teacher said she caused problems at school. Hiding under desks. Biting. Nothing could calm her.
The screams. Sometimes 15 times a night. Like an alarm. 1 a.m. 2 a.m. 3 a.m. What the fuck was going on with our kid?
The failed medications.
The lockdown.
She is a joy.
She is great.
Screams.
I can't solve this puzzle.
We are running out of time. Call the crisis line. These puzzle pieces don't fit.
911, what's your emergency? The first responders gave it up when pieces morphed to broken glass, scattered across a typical suburban living room floor.
Stay calm. What is happening?
Puzzle pieces under the rug at the top of the stairs, stabbing my feet, my arms, my chest. This typical suburban home.
Ma'am, I need you to breathe.
My head,
My head.
my heart,
My heart.
my lungs,
My lungs.
my focus,
My head.
my heart,
My heart.
my lungs,
My lungs.
focus!
Find a part of my body that isn't consumed with puzzle pieces.
Filled with broken glass.
Tell me, who is with you?
Puzzle child, broken parent. Puzzle child, puzzled parent.
Where are you?
Typical suburban home.
If typical suburban home, then typical suburban parent.
A typical suburban parent can't fix the puzzle pieces of puzzle child together.
Typical parent is filled with glass. Glass shards, stained with rage, covered with desperation, dripping in insanity.
Typical parent calls the crisis line, but there is no answer.
There is no answer.
Brokenness is not its own master. Though it rise sphinx-like, foreboding behind the distant plains, go closer. It is an image. Jagged, white-hot shards heaped upon the burning sands sees the brokenness. You, barefooted and journey-weary, though your hands be mangled, they will
bear the scars later. And with the pieces, build the walls to an eternal kingdom. There is no answer. But that does not mean there is no choice. I choose to become.
Become the researcher.
Become a crisis worker.
Become the team.
Send out the internet beacons.
Build the team to crack the genetic code.
Tell your story, your truth. Healing is on the horizon.
Don't let this moment slip. Hold off no longer.
The coast is clear.
All you have to do and dare,
You were never stronger.
Without him, the cause will be shaved and our victory hollow. You heard him. I am family.
The man is a death storm.
You couldn't ask for more.
Before the birds can scare, wise huntsmen draw the snare, and a noose
This
closes.
is nonsense. There is a flicker in his eye. His head moving.
Neoptolemus. You're still here, my friend. I never thought you'd stand your ground. Here, help put me on my feet.
You are alive and out of danger. So much the pity.
What's upset you?
Nothing.
What? Are you sailing on without me?
No. But we will be sailing with you to Troy to connect with the Greeks.
Never. Who are you? Give me back my bow.
I cannot. There are plans and I'm part of them. I'm not to blame. I'm just following orders.
I knew he'd say that.
Be yourself. This isn't you. Change back again. My tongue can't bear to curse you after all I felt for you.
Why are we listening to this?
Can't we just go?
You can't just cut him off.
Somebody has rehearsed you. Come on, child, and give me back my bow.
Yes. Yes, the bow. You have it. I knew you could do it. You are your father's son. Quickly now, to the ship.
Odysseus. Hangmen and betrayers never show till the moment's right.
That I don't deny.
Return my bow, boy.
He has his marching orders. The bow goes, and you with it, towards Troy and triumph.
Come with us.
Never! I curse you!
Come on. All we need is his bow. It's time to move.
Son of Achilles! Are you really going to go without one word? And without the rest of you? Where's your pain?
Maybe when the boat's rigged, he'll have a change of heart. Let's go.
I'm going to die here. Trapped among the following rocks. In the mouth of the cave. With no bow anymore, slow death for sure.
It was unavoidable.
It is not Odysseus, but your own self you have to blame.
Bring me a sword or an axe.
What for?
What do you think? For foot and head and hand. For the relief of cutting myself off, I want away. Away to the house of death where my father is waiting.
Philoctetes, don't! I order you to let me go! You can't! You let him escape! Forget about him. You have the bow. And my slate is clean again.
Yes. You're back to your own self. Your father's son remains.
It does me good to hear that. Listen to me, Philoctetes. You can come with me of your own free will to Troy. A healer will cure you. A soothsayer has foreseen it.
The past is bearable. It is only a scar. But the future? No. Never again can I see myself with the Greeks. You made me a promise to take me home with you.
You're right. I gave my word. Fair is fair. I will go.
We will go.
The Greeks will be after us.
I have the bow.
So be it. This time, your farewell is farewell for good.
Now is the time to go see nymphs in the spray.
The chorus leaves. What's left to say?
Show God's respect, for the gods survive our individual mortal lives.
Whether you follow a light or find solace in mystery.
Never take your life for granted, and when the cup's full, walk gently.
Count your blessings and be ready to pity.
For ordinary people can be breathtaking in their courage and dignity.
For ordinary people could be breathtaking in their courage and dignity. How beautiful. So, in the original Sophocles text, the god Heracles comes down from the heavens and says to Philoctetes, if he goes to Troy with his bow, he will be healed of all of his pain. And of course, Philoctetes takes that opportunity. But life isn't always that black and white. So, at the end of our text, Philoctetes, in the pain of his foot and the pain from his hatred of Odysseus, chooses to find the joy in trusting Neoptolemus. In the most amount of pain, he chose to find the joy in that moment. And that is the theme of so many of the stories that we got the honor to be shared with us these past 5 weeks, including my own. And the next time that you experience a moment of pain, whether medically, physically, mentally, emotionally, please find the joy in the moment. Because if you look, it's there.
What are you doing, girl?
Odysseus, the starfish have washed onto the shore and thrown them back into the surf.
There are hundreds of them
organizers of the show, and we are honored to have some of the people who helped us to make this piece tonight, Professor Rena Kartha and Ray Blaylar, and they are going to lead a post-show talkback for anyone who would like to stay. You are not required to stay, so if anyone would like to take, people have other things to do, so we'll take a minute for people who would like to speak, please, and otherwise we'll bring Rena and Ray up to join the cast for and share some experiences. So each of you want to just introduce yourselves briefly and talk about what you contributed to the piece and maybe what you saw of your contributions, if you saw of your contributions, and then share from that perspective that you bring around the disease. And if you have questions for the students, or some people may have questions or comments in the audience, we can hear some of those.
Well, first of all, let me say, wow, I was moved to tears for so many reasons, but it just resonated. My name is Ray Blaylar, and I am the founder and the president of Sickle Cell Foundation of Minnesota. Even more than that, I am the mother of a young adult living with sickle cell disease. And for many years, I co-managed the sickle cell clinic at our local children's hospital. And so I've seen many, many, many families, many individuals, and continue to work with families. What was an amazing experience was being able to speak with the cast as they were building out this performance. And not only my experience, but I brought along another older gentleman who, for many, he has lived beyond what they told him he would live, beyond the expectation. He is 52 years old, living with sickle cell disease. And he shared his perspectives. As a person living with the disease, I was able to share mine as a mother, watching her child suffer with a disease. Not only a rare disease, but a social, what is considered a social disease, because he is Black. And the reality of the two of those social diseases merging has really written our story, has really narrated our lives. So watching this performance, watching reenactments of isolation, abandonment, the dissonance that was occurring, there were times I had to gather myself. But the amazing work of art that this story was really even a glimpse of insight into what that life is like. So I appreciate you all. You all made some very powerful statements along the way of not only the life of the individual, but the responsibility of us all.
It's hard to follow you.
It's hard to follow you all.
My name is Erica Barnes, and I am the mother of a little girl named Chloe who passed away at age 2 from a rare disease. I had the privilege of sharing my story and her story with this cast, and as I watched, I saw so much of my experience that you really, truly incorporated into this play, and I'm going to have to just pick a couple of pieces because I could go on and on, but one of the things I'm so impressed with that the play really emphasized was, sometimes we have, as rare disease patients, and me as a mom, I had so many frustrations within the medical system with getting her diagnosis, not being believed when I was reporting symptoms. But I love the way that the play really showed this empathy for the medical community too, right? Like, it's not, the doctors that I interacted with were full of compassion, but the system just isn't set up to meet the needs of rare disease patients. And so I love the empathy that came out both for the rare disease patients and for the medical community that's trying to meet our needs. Thank you so much for incorporating my poem into the play. One of the things that I really wanted to emphasize to the students and to everyone here is, the brokenness the lack of cures, but also always the capacity for healing. And Chloe passed away after an attempted bone marrow transplant. She actually passed away from complications of the transplant. And I told the students, you know, I felt like my life was just kind of like a snow globe that got shattered across this desert, right? Just all these shards of glass, and then I was told to live, I had to walk across this glass. And that's just the imagery that I had in my mind. But since then, 10 years ago is when Chloe passed away, really understanding that while there was no cure, there's always capacity in the human spirit to heal. And I love that you captured all that in the play, that whatever your brokenness is, you have capacity within you to heal. And this world is a broken and beautiful place. So that's what I saw coming out in the themes in this play. So that's kind of my reaction.
It's really a very well done job. I mean, I really kudos to all of you. And they really took the story really to heart and developed it and delivered it in such a great way. I had the honor of introducing them to the idea or to the content of rare diseases in general. So I'm a researcher, so my background is a little different. I'm at the College of Pharmacy Center for Orphan Drug Research, and I'm a pharmacological researcher by training. And I was introduced to rare diseases a little over 10 years ago, and had the fortune of working with families as part of my research. I have been interacting with different families and people like Erica and Ray, and I realized that the community had developed so many resources which could be used for increasing awareness about rare diseases, not just in the general public, but also in the younger generation. So that led me to create a course, develop a course, which I started offering 2 years ago for undergraduates. It's a freshman seminar, where I have given them the opportunity, the students the opportunity to work with people like Ray and Erica to develop projects so that they actually get an emotional experience working in the community. And the last 2 years it has been going very well. I got really good comments from the students, especially what the students had been telling, like everybody has the power to help others and be compassionate. And that was something I thought when Luverne and Sonja came forward with this idea of developing a playwright for rare diseases. I thought, what another great media to increase awareness, especially for the young generation. Because again, medical school may be a little too late. They get really kind of immersed in so much of education that they don't get the time to tease out what they want to do. But having this concept of rare disease early on, like trying to understand that everybody is going through something, you need to be compassionate and identify them and connect with them. They probably, whatever career they take, they may consider this in the back of their mind. And when Luverne said that maybe you can talk to the students, I said, okay, fine. And I got the opportunity to talk to them 2 different classes and also introduce some other speakers where they talk about caregivers. And all of those, whatever I said, the statistics and the internet beacon about the material that I had shared for them to read, and also the videos they watched. I think in many places you had incorporated all along, and I could connect very well to the story and what I had spoken in the class. Really great job, students.
So thank you so much for all, again, for the perspectives that you offered to the cast, and we really soaked those in for several weeks, and there were moments when we really had to pause. The breath piece that happens in the show was something that we felt like one of our cast members, after a particularly hard story, felt like we had to stop what we were doing and just lie together and breathe. But we wanted to open up for anyone in the audience if you had any comments or questions for either our guests or for members of the cast. We can take a few minutes to hear any comments or questions.
Can I just add something too, as you all are figuring out who wants to go first? I really appreciate what Erica pointed out, and that was the plight of the provider. Because one of the things that I am honored to be able to represent is both the healthcare institution from the years that I spent on the inside as well as the community. And to see firsthand the barriers that are faced on both sides, that either side may not know anything about, may not understand, maybe because it's not their lived experience. But the ability of both both the patient, and I'm never going to get these names right of these cast members. So both the afflicted, right, as well as the caregiver at the moment. We're both in a particular situation where they had to determine if they were going to trust the other. And that was not easy. And that required them to go back and, I would say, repair a misstep. Missteps are inevitable, particularly in rare disease. The puzzle is very real. But to go back to repair the misstep on both sides is part of that healing. It's not the cure, it's part of the healing. So I really wanted to highlight that because that's a very real component. And sometimes we get lost in our own lived experience, our own viewpoint, and we lose sight of the fact that someone else may be the other side of that coin, the very same coin. So now who's going to go first?
I'm going to go first. I have a question for Josh Berkowitz. Josh, as a student who is in this production and as a student who has a rare disease, you kind of stand in an interesting place here because you're both part of the cast, but also you could well have been these people sitting in front of us talking about your experience. So what I'm curious to know for you is, what has this experience been like to be both one and the other?
It's funny because I took this course by accident. When you're a theater major, you have to take 2 creative collaborations for graduation, and I waited until the last semester of my senior year to take my second one. And this just happened to be the creative collaboration. So when I talked to Luverne about taking the creative collaboration that he would be doing next semester, he's like, yeah, sure, it's about rare diseases. And I'm like, oh, I have a rare disease. It's like, oh. So it was super interesting. What was interesting was, obviously, Sonja and Luverne didn't think going into this piece, creating it, that they would have someone in the cast afflicted by what we're studying. It's actually, I believe it's very rare that someone in the cast has something to do with the concept of the creative collab. So on top of that, them trying to figure out, how I fit into this, and even figuring myself, how do I fit into this? I didn't know if they just wanted me to sit down and shut up and just be a student, but I was pretty fortunate to get to, obviously on day one, I didn't think I'd be sharing my story with the class, but it took, after hearing a lot of the other stories that people had the courage to share with us, I almost felt obligated to be like, well, if all of these people have this trust in this group of people, then I've known these people 2 to 3 years. They're not strangers. So I called my mom right there. I called her up and I said, we're going to tell my whole story to this class. And what's amazing about this process is it's only 5 weeks. So we only started this process 5 weeks ago. So the fact of getting even acknowledging for myself what I was getting into, and then figuring out, oh, I took this class and I have to divulge my life story. It was pretty interesting, I would have to say.
88-year-old father who was really annoying. And I really love him, but we've had a lot to work through, and over COVID, they moved into the other side of the duplex, and I am dealing with emotionally stuff that I've had to deal with for 50-some years, because that's what I grew up with. And I imagine that you are kind of dealing with, in this theater production, with some of those same things in a very similar way. Is that, I mean, I can kind of imagine, like, and it's not painless, but I wonder if it's, like, very cathartic in some ways for you?
It's super interesting that you bring that idea up, because it's almost like, you know, me and my mother had to, when her mom passed away, we had to take care of my great-grandmother, her grandmother, who was a Holocaust survivor. So you can only imagine having a sick teenager and also having to take care of her Holocaust survivor grandmother, and how, you know, she's taught me so much of how to balance in my life. So coming into this and having to balance my own situations to creative and learning, you know, she's the one who taught me how to balance like that.
Okay, this will be, I think, our last comment or question, and then afterwards you're welcome to talk to the cast. But yeah, great.
I was just amazed by this production. I just want to thank you so much. I felt that it was so creative how you all added text to the original text, and I felt you made it so relevant. I loved everyone's performance. I loved the written added text, and I was especially cognizant of how the actors kept exchanging roles for the characters, and I felt that that really went with your theme of saying that pain is universal, and I really appreciated that. And I also felt, maybe this is a little superficial, but I felt that the masks really did not detract in any way from this performance, and I felt that was great. I just loved all of the extra text and the poetry, and I felt you really made this play relevant and universal, and like you said, I just got teary-eyed, and I just really want to thank you all for a great production. I was just truly moved.
It's a beautiful comment.
I feel like we have a strong candidate.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to express my gratitude to you, the performers, and Sonja, Luverne, Kevin, and all the other people that have been involved. Thank you for making this contribution. By way of an introduction, my name is Jim Floyd. I'm the director for the Center for Orphan Drug Research in the College of Pharmacy. You might ask, what the heck is the College of Pharmacy doing getting involved in something called rare diseases? The drugs that are used to treat rare diseases are called orphan drugs. And from that perspective, we got interested in this project. I am afflicted with a common disease that occurs with researchers, and that we tend to be concrete and linear. That being said, I offer the following with a lot of humility. We're on the cusp of miracles occurring in treating rare diseases. There's this thing called gene therapy that has potential for cures. Now, what I would ask is, as this project evolves, can we make the concept of hope and opportunity more concrete for those of us who are afflicted with that disorder?
Thank you. Keep that in mind. Thank you again for coming here tonight. Thanks to the cast and our wonderful guests.